The paradox of attachment. How letting go can build stronger bonds. I want to tell you exactly what this video is about before we go any further, because this topic gets misunderstood very easily. This video is about why trying harder in relationships often makes things worse, why holding on tightly creates distance instead of closeness, and why learning how to let go without becoming cold or indifferent is one of the strongest things you can do for your relationships. We're going to talk about emotional intelligence, attachment styles, and what secure connection actually looks like in real life. Not in theory, not in self-help slogans, but in the everyday moments where relationships either deepen or quietly break down. If you've ever cared deeply about someone and still felt anxious, uncertain, or afraid of losing them, this video is for you. Cultivating emotional intelligence for stronger bonds. One of the biggest misconceptions people have about emotional maturity is that it means feeling less. That if you're wise, or grounded, or emotionally intelligent, you somehow stop caring as much. You don't get affected. You don't feel shaken. You don't get attached. That idea sounds appealing, especially if you've been hurt before. But it's not true. Emotional intelligence is not emotional apathy. It's not shutting down. It's not pretending things don't matter. And it's definitely not distancing yourself from people so you don't get hurt. Real emotional intelligence is the ability to feel fully without letting your emotions run your behavior. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Viktor Frankl. Frankl was not describing emotional numbness. He was describing emotional mastery. He lived through conditions that stripped life down to its rawest form. And his insight was not that emotion should disappear, but that awareness must come before action. Emotional intelligence begins in that space. Feeling still happens. The difference is that it no longer hijacks behavior. There's a big difference between healthy detachment from outcomes and unhealthy indifference toward people. Healthy detachment means you care deeply, but you don't try to control how things unfold. Unhealthy indifference means you disconnect so you don't have to feel vulnerable. One builds relationships, the other slowly kills them. And this distinction is everything when it comes to love, friendship, and connection. Consider Abraham Lincoln, a man known for both deep emotional sensitivity and extraordinary restraint. He grieved openly, struggled with melancholy, and yet was able to hold opposing viewpoints without collapsing into resentment or detachment. His strength did not come from indifference. It came from his ability to remain emotionally present without needing to control how others responded to him. Understanding anxious and avoidant attachment styles. Let's talk about something that shows up quietly in a lot of relationships. Attachment. If you've ever noticed yourself getting anxious when someone pulls back, or feeling the urge to hold on tighter when things feel uncertain, that's not because you're weak or broken. That's attachment at work. Anxious attachment often looks like clinging to outcomes. You start focusing on how things should go, how someone should respond, how much reassurance you should be getting. And when reality doesn't match those expectations, tension builds. You might find yourself overthinking texts, reading into tone, feeling uneasy even when nothing is technically wrong. That's not love. That's fear trying to protect you. On the other side, avoidant attachment looks like distancing. Instead of clinging, you pull away. Instead of asking for reassurance, you shut down. Instead of leaning in, you convince yourself you don't need anyone. Both patterns come from the same place: fear of loss. One tries to control closeness, the other tries to avoid it. And often, these patterns were learned early, from caregivers, past relationships, or environments where connection felt unpredictable. None of this is a character flaw, it's conditioning. But if left unexamined, it becomes the lens through which every relationship is filtered. If you love something, let it go. If it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it never was. This phrase is often attributed to Khalil Gibran. This phrase is often misunderstood as passive or romanticized, but its psychological truth is precise. Clinging creates fear, and fear distorts connection. Letting go is not abandonment. It is the removal of coercion. Without coercion, what remains is genuine. External validation becomes fragile ground to build on, because the moment validation disappears, stability disappears with it. That's why understanding attachment is so important. Not to label yourself, but to recognize what's driving your reactions. Fostering secure attachment in relationships. So what does secure attachment actually look like? It looks like loving without owning. Think about a healthy parent-child relationship. A good parent doesn't cling to their child or try to control every step. They provide a secure base, a place the child can return to, while still allowing exploration, independence, and mistakes. That same principle applies to adult relationships. Secure attachment means you value someone deeply, but you don't try to cage the relationship to keep it safe. You focus on what's actually within your control. Your reactions, your boundaries, your behavior, not someone else's moods, not their timing, not their internal process. For example, imagine your partner criticizes you for leaving your clothes around after you get back from work and change into your pajamas. An anxious response might be defensiveness or over-explaining. An avoidant response might be shutting down or disengaging. A secure response is simpler. You pause, you listen, you respond calmly. Not because you don't care, but because you trust yourself enough to stay present. In a real relationship, this might look like choosing not to escalate a small irritation into a referendum on the entire relationship. Instead of defending yourself or withdrawing, you recognize that a moment of annoyance does not equal rejection, and you allow the conversation to stay proportionate to the issue at hand. Secure attachment also involves self-sufficiency, not isolation, not independence at all costs, but interdependence. Two people supporting each other's goals without making the relationship the sole source of meaning. That's how bonds become resilient instead of brittle. Navigating relationship challenges with inner strength. Relationships will challenge you. That's unavoidable. Disagreements happen. Plans change. People disappoint each other. The question is not whether conflict arises. The question is how you meet it. Inner strength shows up as self-control and clear thinking. That doesn't mean suppressing emotion. It means creating space between feeling and action. It also means accepting impermanence. This part is uncomfortable, but important. Everything changes. People evolve. Relationships shift. Trying to freeze things in place creates suffering. When you accept that change is part of connection, you stop trying to control it. And paradoxically, that's when connection becomes more authentic. Some practical steps here are simple, but not easy. These will get easier with practice over time. Pause before responding. Ask yourself what you're actually afraid of in the moment. Speak from clarity, not urgency. Let discomfort exist without rushing to fix it. This isn't passivity. It's strength. The paradox unveiled. Deeper connection through detachment. Here's the paradox, and it's worth sitting with. The more you try to control a relationship, the less safe it becomes. The more you let go of control, the more trust can grow. Letting go doesn't mean caring less. It means trusting more. True resilience in relationships doesn't come from guarantees. It comes from internal stability, from knowing that you can stay grounded even when things feel uncertain. When you stop gripping outcomes, intimacy deepens. When you stop demanding reassurance, connection softens. When you stop performing security, you start embodying it. That's the paradox. Closing. If any part of this video felt familiar, that's a good sign. It means you're paying attention and you are knowledgeable. You don't need to master this overnight. You don't need to detach perfectly. You don't need to stop caring. You just need to start noticing when fear is driving closeness and gently choose something steadier. And if this video helped you see your relationships a little more clearly, don't forget to subscribe to Inner Helm. We build these conversations slowly, thoughtfully, and without noise. Thanks for spending this time with me.